It's time now for Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join News Director Paul David as he talks with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's Countywide.
Welcome to Countywide. I'm Paul David. As always, it is great to have you in studio today. We're sitting down with Animal Disaster Services Becky Salazar. Welcome back.
Thank you.
At least once a year. And how appropriate. You just had a fire. You just responded.
Cellar fire, yes.
I wasn't sure if you were going to be, have any stories for us. Yeah. And then last week, the fire hit, and I thought, oh boy, because the Forest Service has been talking about, well, it's been that wet winter. Been a wet spring. We might be able to make it without any fire restrictions. And so far, there still aren't any fire restrictions except on the Tonto Forest as well.
That's a surprise to me. Yeah.
A little surprise to me, too, yeah. And now we've got these big fires going, like the Cellar Fire was last week's big fire, and that's just finally starting to wind down. And now we got the museum fire up in Flagstaff, and that one's fired up. And we got all kinds of people up there on set, evacuation status, and so on. Website is animaldisasterservices.com. Simple, animaldisasterservices.com. There's a couple of phone numbers here, and I'll repeat them over and over again this morning. 445-3347 or 925-7990. So if you didn't get those, just get something ready, and then, of course, 928 in front of both those numbers. But that gets them to you, correct?
That gets them to me.
Okay,
yep.
That's what we want to do.
Both mine.
Everything gets to Becky Salazar here. Okay, let's get into it. So you did have a fire to respond to. I didn't think we were going to, like we were talking about, but it did happen, the cellar fire.
The cellar fire happened. We were supposed to set up a shelter at Prescott High School, but we wound up not actually getting any animals in. So we were there for a few days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I think Sunday we just hung a note on the door, said if you need us, call, we'll be right here. But nobody came. I know a lot of people evacuated with their animals because I saw some on TV being interviewed, but apparently they had someplace else to go and put them. So
that seems to be kind of the case sometimes, huh? I've noticed that during the evacuation.
Sometimes. Yeah. Well, I think part of it could be that people are now paying attention and they're prepared and they're evacuating early, which is great in my opinion. But we're not actually opening a shelter until an official evacuation is called. That's the rule for us. So if you evacuate the day before because you know there's a fire and you know maybe it's moving in your direction and maybe you'd like to be proactive because you have a lot of animals and it's going to take you a couple of trips to evacuate, then those people start off early. They've got to have someplace to go, and we're not yet set up. So I think they make other arrangements and just stay there.
That's nice, though.
Drop off animals with friends. Yes, it is. Yeah. It absolutely is.
You're right. That's very good. Proactive is to,
Oh, I love that.
You see it coming.
I love that in people.
That's what we've been pushing for years, right? Yeah, that's why we talk about.
Do not wait.
Yeah, practice those evacuation plans.
Exactly.
Get those kits, evacuation kits. Yeah.
Get ready and yes, go.
Because the cellar fire, I mean, if you think about it, the people that were down there, I was telling you just before the show, Monday morning I come in and I see a press release from Prescott National Forest that lightning struck, 36-acre fire, no big deal. Even got a little bit of rain in the afternoon. We're going to use it for management purposes, middle of nowhere.
Right.
And then by Tuesday afternoon, it was 1,000 acres. And then I come in Wednesday morning, it's almost 7,000 acres. Yeah. And I got something from YCSO that talks about how no evacuations yet, but we're staging on the roadways. And I thought, okay, this thing changed overnight.
Yeah, big, yeah. Just over.
When do you
and
that
happens. I mean, that happens all the time.
Oh, a lot.
It happens all the time. So that's why the county has a program, Ready, Set, Go. And, at Ready, you do this. At Set, you do this. At Go, you go. And whenever I come along anytime behind them to talk about preparing with your pets in mind and all of that, I always tell them, just go early. There's no reason to wait.
Yeah.
So
I think if you're put on ready status, you might as well grab your stuff and go someplace for a few days. It may be a few days more than that because maybe it will evacuate.
Right.
Pine Flat was evacuated, but that was all. And I heard that was about 30 homes down there.
And I heard there were a lot of people who
homes.
refused to go,
which
really? Is terrifying to me. But because there comes a point where it's too late. It's too late to help yourself. It's too late to help your animals. If you've got a bunch of animals too, and I think the people in that kind of environment, they tend to have multiple dogs and cats and chickens and whatever. It's hard to, with a 5-minute warning, throw all of them in your car and go.
Yeah.
So it's a little scary to me when they don't evacuate.
Yeah, I agree. So, okay, so you went and set up. So when do you get the call? Hey, Becky, we need you.
When the sheriff or whoever actually calls an official evacuation, then we get the call to go set up.
Okay. Red Cross is called, Becky Salazar is called.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Yep. And you usually set up, if I'm not mistaken, in previous shows I've done with you guys are usually set up right next door to Red Cross. Because I think some people might be concerned about that, about leaving their pets someplace that they don't know, and then they're going to go to the Red Cross shelter. But that's not really the case, is it?
That's not the case. We always follow along with the Red Cross. It's usually a school, and they'll take over the gym or some big room like that, and then we'll take school rooms nearby in the same school, and we'll do dogs, cats, birds, rabbits, whatever.
Everybody get along okay?
No.
I didn't think so, right? How would they?
No,
right.
No, they don't. And it's not funny, but it's odd to me that even family animals, family dogs, will fight with each other in that environment because it's so stressful. I mean, they're stressed. They got the stress from you when they were evacuating, and now they're in a room with other stranger dogs that are barking and people they don't know, and so it's very stressful for them. So they don't get along, and like I said, even sometimes family dogs will fight with each other because just the stress of the situation.
Mm-hmm. The purpose of having you, though, right next to Red Cross is so that if my cats were to be in there with you, Becky, in this classroom, in their little cage, I could go in there, and not only do they make me feel better, but then I make them feel better. And I have access to them, maybe not 24/7, but do I have access to them 24/7?
Sure.
So if I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and think, I would really love to go sit down with my animals, I can go do that.
Yes, ADS would have somebody there. They might be sleeping and you might need to wake them up. Generally speaking, we don't get a lot of sleep, but yes, you absolutely can. And we let them out. We let them out one at a time. Your cats, let's talk about. Cats can get out of their enclosure. We let them out one at a time. We play with them. We sit on the floor and love on them. And if you wanted to come and do the same thing, yes, we would be very supportive of that. And the same with the dogs. We take them out for a walk on a regular basis. If things calm down in the shelter, we'll take them out one at a time and even just let them lay next to a chair while we do paperwork or something like that. But if you want to come in and take them out, take them for a walk or go sit outside under a tree with them, absolutely, we support that.
Okay. All right. Let's take our first break, okay?
Okay.
Animal Disaster Services, Becky Salazar in studio today. The phone numbers are 445-3347, 925-7990, animaldisasterservices.com. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Solid Rock Fitness is a one-on-one fitness studio specializing in fitness over 50. I train older adults of all fitness levels, from athletes and avid sports participants to folks with chronic pain to those recovering from surgeries. You and I will focus on strength training to improve overall muscle tone, core conditioning, balance, agility, flexibility, and nutrition. Mastery of these components of fitness will help you live your life to the fullest with confidence and competence.
Paul Stanley here with Stanley Steel Structures. We offer shade structures that provide style, value, and performance. Our Equinox louvered roof opens and closes to give you the ultimate patio experience. We also offer Alumawood shade covers that looks like wood but lasts like steel and never needs painting or maintenance. Visit us at StanleySteelStructures.com. Contact us today and be covered tomorrow. Stanley Steel Structures. Let us add some space to your place.
Fabulous views and unmatched quality with efficiency in mind. Just announced, C&B Construction is the only contractor ever to win the EPA's coveted Indoor Air Plus Leaders Award 4 years in a row. These Energy Star certified homes provide unparalleled energy efficiency, comfort, durability, and indoor air quality. C&B Construction is currently building at Gray Fox Ridge and Crossroads at Mingus. C&B Construction, locally respected and nationally recognized.
Hi, I'm your host, Smokey Colbert. Filling in for Smokey, because after 75 years of...
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Turns out there's much more to say. Nearly 90% of wildfires are caused by us humans being careless, dumping our used barbecue coals willy-nilly. Guess the song was wrong. We did start the fire. That's why I respect Mother Nature and her trees, whether coniferous or new car scented. Go to SmokeyBear.com to learn more about wildfire prevention.
Welcome back to Countywide. Again, a couple of phone numbers for you if you're ready. 445-3347, 925-7990. Put you in touch with Becky Salazar from Animal Disaster Services. The website is animaldisasterservices.com. All right, so we were just talking that sometimes it's a possibility that when you get evacuated, you forget your pets. That's a possibility. What if... I want to jump into this right away. What if I get, because I'm imagining some of this happened up on the museum fire where it was the middle of the late afternoon. People aren't home from work yet, but the sheriff's office said, okay, we're evacuating this area, but it's not because we have to, but because we're going to have firefighters on this road, and they're going to be doing a burnout operation away from the homes. My pets are there. My stuff is there.
Yes.
I didn't know.
You packed a really good evacuation bag and now you can't get to it or to your animals. So it's very important that you do that evacuation bag. Excuse me. Especially if you have an animal on a special diet or on medications, anything like that. And it's just not a bad idea because dogs don't like their food changed. It causes problems for them. So just to have a couple of Ziploc bags full of their dog food, all of that right in a bag ready to go out the door. That way you're ready if you're home and you can just grab it and go with your pets. If you're not home, I always like to suggest the buddy system. I call it the buddy system because obviously you're going to want to get somebody who you know, a neighbor, a friend who lives in your neighborhood, and you need to work on being able to have that buddy evacuate your pets for you. Cats aren't always real friendly towards strangers, and sometimes dogs aren't either. Dogs don't like strangers. So you need to work with this buddy and get your animals familiar with them, have the buddy come over for a cup of coffee, bring treats for your dog or cat, whatever, so that you work out enough of a familiarity that that person could come in if you're not home and evacuate your pets for you. You're obviously going to need to exchange house keys, or if you don't feel comfortable with that, hide it someplace that you could call them and tell them, my key is here, please go get my animals, they won't let me back in. Some people just run to the store and now they can't get back in. Some people evacuate, the dogs to a friend's house and they go back to get the cats and they can't get back in. So it happens frequently. It happens more often than you think, that people don't think about what could become an impossible situation for them to get back to those animals. And it's sad, and I'm sure it's very, very stressful on their part. But if you're prepared and you're ready and you've got all of that worked out, it's not a problem.
Yeah. I know there's some cases where the sheriff's office will take you back in, maybe. But it really depends on what the fire's doing and how dangerous it is.
Yes, it very much depends.
Yeah.
If they've called the evacuation, that means it's not safe for you to be there. So if it's not safe for you to be there, they're not going to let you back in.
I want to say it's within a mile of homes is where they really call the evacuation, because it takes a fire just that much time to cover that amount of space.
Yeah.
It sounds like a lot, but it's not.
And they have done that. They have let people go back in, but it depends on the situation. If it's still safe and you're going in to grab my cat, and then I'm out of here. You're not going to go in there and pack up for half an hour. They'll let you back in, but yes, that usually they'll escort you. And
I guess if I'm on ready or set, I should probably just take all that stuff with me all the time, every time I leave.
Yeah. I would think
I see
so.
where that could be a difficult situation, but is there some place, okay, if I put my cats on a carrier, if I got a friend that's outside of what might be the ready, set, go area to be able to drop them off for the day while I'm at work or something like that, at least I know they're not in there, especially if my home's under the ready or set status.
Right, especially during that time. I would agree with you. There's no reason to go off and expect that the best will remain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because we've seen these fires change just so much. We were just talking about the cellar fire, 36 acres one day, almost 7,000 acres a couple days later. It just changes so fast.
And I have talked to people who said, the fire was 2 miles away, and then 10 minutes later it's at their back door. And they literally had to run out and get in their car and drive away. I've talked to people who said when we drove away in our car, the fire was 2 houses down. So that gives you no time for preparation. You need to be ready before that.
Yeah, that's scary too. I can't imagine having that one happen right there. We did talk a little bit about practicing evacuation plans. I kind of want to get to the part to find out what you need. You've not been very busy with fires this year, but there's always things that you need. So
there's always things we need, and usually we will go out and ask the community. Excuse me. During the Goodwin fire, we had so many animals that we actually ran out of crates, and we had a lot of crates. So we asked the community for crates, and usually we'll get a good response for that. Specific request. But generally speaking, whenever there's a fire, we get people who show up with pet food. We keep pet food on hand enough to get us started in case there's an evacuation, knowing that people are going to come with more pet food. I keep using the Goodwin fire as an example because it's been recent, and it's a good example of all things weird.
Okay.
We wound up with a whole wall of dog and cat food, more than we would ever use. And although we're eternally grateful for the community's thoughtfulness and donations, they want to help in any way they can. That was a whole lot of food that we had no place to store and we were not going to use. So we usually wind up redonating it to the local shelters, but the local shelters are also getting a little picky with, they don't want to keep changing the food for the animals also.
And they only have so many animals too. I mean,
and they
shelters...
only have, and storage is a problem because you might have, if you're going to store it out in a shed, there could be mice, that get into it.
Well, that food doesn't last forever either.
It doesn't last forever.
Right.
So ideally, a monetary donation would be better. If you're going to go out and buy a bag of food, instead donate the $3 or $5 or whatever.
Are people just driving up and kind of saying, "Hey, this is for you guys"? They just drive up to the scene. Okay, so they do the same thing with the cash, because if Becky doesn't need a 10-pound bag of dog food or cat food, that
but
money
I need a crate.
Right, that you can put that money towards a crate, and then pretty soon you have what you want. I imagine the folding crates are some of the better ones too,
Yes,
in terms of being able to transport those around.
That's what we use. We use the wire crates.
The wire crates.
And we always use the biggest one that we have. Even for a Chihuahua, we'll put them in this great big crate because it gives them more room. We can put a dog bed in there and their food and all that. And the cats too, especially the cats, because we've got to put a litter box and food, and we don't want them close together.
They're already nervous anyways. You got to give them a little bit of space. I'd hate to be all that nervous, and then somebody sticks me in this little tiny box and says, "Here, this is where you're going to live for a few days." Yeah. Let's take another break. AnimalDisasterServices.com. Becky Salazar is in studio today. Phone numbers are 445-3347, 925-7990. Countywide back in just a couple minutes. Volunteers. Volunteers.
Repair replace. Regenerative medicine is the process of creating living, functional tissues to repair or replace tissue or organ function lost due to age, disease, damage, or congenital defects. Dr. Forrest Lanchbury and the team at Sedona Regenerative Medicine specialize in finding relief for patients suffering from chronic pain. Contact Sedona Regenerative Medicine to learn about anti-aging medicines that will help your body heal itself. 928-282-2520 or SedonaRegen.com.
Starting in the late 1920s, Grandpa Gettle and his brothers laid the groundwork for what would become a family legacy. Almost 100 years and 100 patents later, Gettle's High Desert Mechanical continues to raise the bar of quality heating, cooling, and plumbing products and services in the Verde Valley.
Call Gettle's High Desert Mechanical Heating, Air Conditioning, and Plumbing at 567-2200 or online at GettlesHDM.com, providing solutions for your comfort. Don't settle, get Gettles.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
she doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new.
Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened?
Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
Welcome back to Countywide. We've got just a few minutes left of the program. We always want to mention volunteers. You can always use volunteers.
We can always use volunteers because during an evacuation, we're there 24 hours a day. And we might have 5 dogs, we might have 50 dogs, we might have 100 and cats. So,
Shift changes have to occur, though. I mean, Becky can't be there 24/7.
Right. Well, and it takes more than me. I mean, it's a group effort. So, yes, always volunteers. We have to put them through training first, so they can't just show up during an evacuation and say, I want to help, what can I do? So they have to be trained first for safety reasons, for the animals and for them. The county themselves want them to go through a background check and a 1-hour orientation, county orientation for their rules and regulations. So yes, we're always in need of good volunteers.
Okay, and then be available on the day of emergencies, and then I suppose you probably work out the shifts and how they're going to work as the event takes place, and get that worked out. And maybe some people can, maybe they can't. This time of year, a lot of people are on vacation, but you know, if you're around, it'd be a great help, that's for sure. And you feel good for what you're doing too.
And we'll take them. You know, ideally, I'd like them to come in and work an 8-hour shift because that's easier scheduling. But if you can only do 2 hours, you know, we'll take it.
Okay, all right.
Take it.
And then back to donations again. Animal Disaster Services is a 501c3, so if you make a donation to a 501c3, that is a tax write-off.
It's a tax deductible
But
donation.
yeah, you still need the crates. You're always probably going to need crates, aren't you?
We always need crates.
That's the deal.
We always need, you know, there's a lot of paperwork that happens when you bring your pet in, you might as well be bringing your child in because, you know, we identify that animal to you. We have secret codes so that no one can come in and say, that's my dog, and go with it. You know, we're very, very cautious about all of that. So just office supplies and T-shirts and, you know, blankets and linens and stuff like that.
I still have to say that
constant.
The cash donations is, you know, cash donations has got to be the best way. That way you can put the money where it needs to go.
It is.
And you can take care of that stuff.
Yes, it is. You know, we can take $10 and go to the laundromat and clean laundry. So.
See, I would have never thought about that. You brought that up before the show even started. That you know, $10 to the laundromat and you can clean the blankets, towels, things like that are being used.
I don't need a 15th bag of dog food as much as I need quarters to go to the laundromat to clean the blankets. Yep.
Okay. You think about it, animals get ill too, because as we talked about, they get nervous. They're in a different surroundings.
They do.
They're agitated. They get sick.
Yeah.
And so I imagine there's a lot of that to do. Okay.
Yeah.
Becky, thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
As
Thank
always.
you for always letting us have the opportunity to get out there to the communities and bring up that awareness again.
I love doing it. Okay, Becky Salazar, Animal Disaster Services. Phone numbers again, 445-3347, 925-7990. Of course, 928 goes in front of that. AnimalDisasterServices.com. That's today's Countywide. Thanks for watching, listening, and we'll talk to you again next time.